Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our YouTube channel and to a new segment we're trying out. So, this is going to be our first of hopefully more metagame discussions. Today, I'm joined by some of the lovely members of our Tiering Council, as well as valued members of our community at large. And I guess we can just kind of start off by introducing everyone. Actually, I can go first this time too. Hi, I'm Sky12321, otherwise known as Ming Numbers on Smogon. Um, Kind of new to the tier, but am doing stuff. I'm in RUPL. It's a great time. Ampha, toss it over to you if you want to do.
Hey, Ampha and VR costume member, also the one who did the last VR changes, and I'm here to chill up and talk about them.
All right, cool. Evie,
Hi, I'm EviGaro. I'm RUTL, been since 2019. Also play BO3 in RUPL, and if you don't know what that is, the O3 in it stands for my record right now.
wow, very nice. Feen,
Hi, I'm Feen, former RU tier leader, currently RU council. I am 2-0 in RUPL, but I didn't play this week, so anyways, yeah.
nice. And finally, LVN.
I've been playing RU for I think since like 2014 overall, tours since 2020, and I'm currently 0-0 in RUPL.
Congrats, bro.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, wish I
I
could
totally got
relate.
drafted. Totally.
I also 0-0.
I am
Yeah.
unfortunately 0-1. Ah, tragic. Sun Moon Gaming was not for me. But okay, let's hop into a little bit of talk about the actual stuff. So starting off with the kind of suspect test, I'll throw it over to you, Evie, as like TL, and then also Fiend as part of kind of the just the tier council. Um, why do you think now was the time to spring the Thunder suspect? I think where everyone remembers the kind of April Fools uh, suspect test. So yeah, just talk about why now would be the time y'all decided to go for this.
Okay, so I can go first. Personally, I'm always a fan of starting a suspect like during RUPL, during RU Open. This is always like one of the best time I think to get people in the tier or like get the people that play at a I don't want to say higher level, but I'm gonna say at a higher level. Like to have opinions that are slightly different. So I always like this, and so we started talking in the council chat about options, looking at it. Thundurus was obviously one that came forward a lot, and and of course we talked a little about just banning it for outright, but it doesn't really make sense with how long it's been in the tier. So we just said, yeah, that's about as good as the time as it gets. There's other things that we could suspect, so we'll look forward to that in the next weeks. But yeah, so far it's Thunderous, and I think we'll talk a little more in general why, like everyone. But yeah,
Yeah. I was also the one advocating for just outright quick banning it because like I don't see any positive contribution this mon is providing to the tier at this stage. So but anyways, since most of the council agreed, yeah, let's suspect test. So we said, okay, let's wait 2 more weeks to ban this because I mean it's obviously gonna get banned. So um, are we gonna talk about what mons are we considering in the future? But I think we should wait on that as well because the metagame might shift.
yeah, but well,
But
we
yeah,
can
we
talk
do
about
have a few
no.
mons on the radar. But I guess we should start talking about why Thunderous is
Yeah,
being
I
suspected
feel like
in
that's a great
general.
place to start. Everyone, actually, we'll have let's have LBN actually. Just kind of like run us through your personal thoughts about the suspect at large, Thunderous. And kind of just like how you think it's impacting metagame, if it's like a healthy or not presence, and whether or not it just deserves to leave.
I think Thundurus is one of the dumbest mons to ever hit this tier in my goddamn life. This mon is this mon. If whatever you want Thundurus to beat, it beats. No questions asked. It will just beat it.
Well, not necessarily. There is one way to deal with Thundurus-Therian, which is really stupid, but it does work. Which is
Okay.
basically terrestrializing, terra electricing your mon.
Yeah, that's another thing that I'll get into later. Thank you, Jirachi. But oh man, just look at this. I'm winning with Thundurus right now on the side. But basically, there are checks to every one of Thundurus's sets, but there are also just 2 sets that will beat those checks with a different set. Sure, Rotom Heat may do nicely against, say, NP Double Dance, but it loses to Knockoff. Same with Chansey. I've had it my Chansey. I was loading Stall for the suspect rest because I'm a shameless fool. It NP'd twice on my Chansey and did 64 with a Terra Electric T-Bolt. Just
Yeah, I
straight up.
will actually
It
say this too.
melted.
Chansey, if EV'd properly, like, and I say EV'd properly, it's 8 EVs in HP. Thundurus beats Chansey like 100% of the time. If the only move Chansey is hitting it with is Seismic Tots, that is. But yeah,
Yeah,
you just kind of set up twice and you 2 KO it. That's
because he
kind of
hit
how it goes.
299 HP at 0 investment. So like if you put like 8 HP EVs, you beat Chansey.
Yeah, so all you need is just the 8 HP EVs, and Chansey never stops Thundurus, which is
You
quite
don't
fun.
even need that. You just NP while the Chansey comes in. And now you
I
don't
mean,
need
that's
to take
true.
3.
Well, depends if the Chansey is still holding his Eviolite, then not
I mean,
really.
I suppose. Actually, no. I think it's a roll with a Violite.
I can tell
Well,
you straight up
Terra
if you're
Electric
will.
Thunderbolt is not the better set though, right? Because
Well,
like
Terra Electric isn't a very common set, that's true.
yeah.
But that also ignores Focus Blast at +2, just straight up 2 at KOing. Assuming
Yeah,
it's not Max Spadef Chansey, which isn't a real set.
yeah, true. I mean, I just personally think, and like, my thoughts on Thundurus, I don't think it's a particularly healthy presence in the tier. I think it provides a little too much flex with what it could be, whether that is setup or like support, like LBN and like, Feen have mentioned. Those are kind of the 2 primary sets that are running around right now. Uh, whether it's Double Dance, a lot of the kind of slower teams that you know, or the more offensive teams too, that kind of rely on, Cycles are as a blanket check to a lot of the special threats. Those fold very easily to like an offensive double dance Thundy. While the slower teams who might have a little more sturdy like answer to these things, I mean, the support stat rips them apart. You take knockoff, you volt switch, focus blast and grass knot your grounds and cycles ours. It really is kind of oppressive in my opinion. It does everything it kind of wants to very well. Even when you know what's happening, a lot of the time you are hard pressed to find a way to stop it in a meaningful way. So I personally do think it is kind of a little too much for what we have right now.
But I do think I do think the support set has dropped off a little bit. Like
I think it's
like
still
I've
good.
no, but like I've played I've played every week, and the past 2 weeks I've been facing the other Thunderous because it's faster. It has priority T wave, and for what you want support Thunderous to do, it does that a little bit better. Is it really that much that you don't ban Thundurus-Therian? I don't know, but the support set for me has just dropped off a little bit, so you just run outright offensive because that's what it does really best.
Yeah. I mean, just because the support set is run a little better by normal Thunderous, which I don't really agree because it doesn't have Volt Absorb. And so you can't really check stuff like Magnezone and like Jirachi. Well, Jirachi if you're running Thunder on it, especially. But like Magnezone in general. The normal Thunderous incarnate that doesn't really deal with Magnezone that well, but Therian does.
That
And
depends. That depends
thankfully,
a
I've
lot.
seen 0 Magnezone in my entire life, so
Well,
I think it'll
Magnezone
be
is a
fine.
pretty underrated Pokemon right now.
It's
Anyway,
underrated. I just haven't seen it yet, and I'm not going to prep based on that.
I think
SD
Magnezone is
SD
probably the best
Kleavor is a
side.
really cool mon with Cobalion and Hippowdon falling off, but nobody's using it, so why should I care?
Yeah,
I'm
well,
gonna
I think
be honest here. I did have a team with Magnezone, and I literally dropped Magnezone just because it just gave Thunderous way too much entry points.
Yeah, I
pretty
think
much. Like,
I think
sorry,
an
go ahead.
underrated part two of Thundurus-Therian specifically is kind of that Volt Absorb utility. It effectively gives Thundy two immunes, ground and electric, which, funnily enough, with Thundy being in the tier, Thundy is a relatively okay check in most cases to itself. And I think that does provide it some defensive utility that maybe the incarnate form uh, is somewhat lacking. You know what I'm saying?
See, unfortunately, it just knocks itself, or sludge bombs itself, or sludge waves itself, or just regular Terra blasts itself for 40.
Right.
So
See, so
it
so, so that but
rarely.
that's the point, right? Like it's another Thundy looking at the other Thundy, and then they have to start like trading hits. Whereas if you're the incarnate form, you can just kind of click Volt Switch or whatever, and now you suddenly
Well,
are out
well, you
very
can't click
differently.
Volt Switch.
I'm saying like incarnate on incarnate versus
Oh,
Therian on
yeah,
Therian.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense.
But I don't think you run incarnate for the Thunderous matchup anyway. Like, I don't think it really matters because that's the same problem. Like, incarnate will knock and you turn, and it doesn't really do anything
Yeah,
back. So
I think the main reason one should run Incarnate is because it outspeeds Terrakion, Cobalion. Those are
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
and
mean that's
priority,
notable. The speed tier is quite nice, but yeah. Anyway,
and priority tier.
but that's basically all I have to say about the Thundy suspect. I'm interested to see if any discussion ends up happening. I actually have the thread pulled up right now,
No,
and you can see
it's
kind
just
of
people being paranoid about April Fools.
yeah.
That's
Fellyburn
basically
really
the entire thread.
this guy right here. He trolled everyone so hard that everyone's looking at this like, huh, is this for real? Yeah, who knows? But yeah,
I'll
no,
be
this is for
honest.
real.
I remember the first time I saw it, and I was like, "Fella, you're not slick in the slightest." He rolls into my DMs, and it's like, "Shut up, shut up."
Okay, but yeah,
And
I'm looking.
I've been marinating Ming by saying, "Bro, we're cooking a huge suspect test. Get ready."
Dude, honestly, no, listen, the amount of pushback from like outside the community, like Evie, you were there. Like
Yeah,
General Smog on Discord for one night was just talking about like the RU suspect. Like it was that crazy. Um,
It was
yeah.
funny.
It was,
There were a
yeah.
lot of. I was genuinely disappointed how many people looked at that thread, didn't read it to even check. The suspect's name requirements and examples were RUAF, LMFAO, and RUAF Raffle, and people took it seriously. At what point do we blame them?
I mean,
Also, when we
really quite
tagged
funny,
Delmise and Marty, those were Bulbapedia links.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Moreover, for the voter ID thread, when I said use this table, that was a rickroll.
To be fair though, Philly and I have been running jokes for the like you can use this name or this name. We've been running jokes for like 6 or 7 suspects right now. So
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed there were some jokes on this one.
Okay.
RUTI pivot or RUT1 suspect Terra OMG.
right.
Okay. So, does anyone else have
Am I
any
right?
like thing to contribute to Thundy, or then we're just gonna move on to like some of the VR stuff?
I do have a few more things to say about Thundy. So like
Yeah.
we have this one Pokemon in the S rank, which we'll discuss in a bit, that does so much progress. Can you guys guess what mon I'm talking about?
Balian.
I'm talking about Cyclizar, bro.
It's
Anyway, so
Jirachi.
Cyclizar with it's just such a great progress maker. So the knockoffs, yeah, they're weak, but it cripples mons. So as the game goes on, due to Cyclizar, Thundurus really stands out to be like an end game cleaner. And it does that really, really well due to Cyclizar. And Cyclizar, I mean, the people say that, yeah, Cyclizar can check Thundurus, but hey, we've seen that interaction like. Sorry, Evie, you were saying something or?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, okay, some noise was coming. Oh, yeah, as I was saying, people claim that, yeah, Cyclizar checks Thundurus, which is, well, if you watch some RUPL games or some seasonal games, you can clearly see that's not the case. So yeah, it really does nothing good in the metagame right now. It's
Yeah, I
so
mean, I'll
annoying.
add on to that. A very common core that we've kind of seen pop up a few times now is Thundurus plus another like special abuser, whether that be like a Gengar or I don't know, personally, like I don't know, uh Monkey Dory or something like that. Like just Volcanion. Thundurus plus special attacker has been something that's kind of been popping up, and that's because Thundurus is very adept at if you're the support set, like just knocking off opposing Cyclizar, and then later on in the game just volt switching out on them. So you cripple their utility,
Yeah,
and then suddenly
Cyclizar
they
does
just
not do anything versus
yeah
special
they
attacker.
just become like kind of a brick wall, like a cone you throw in, and then you get volt switched out on, and suddenly you now have to deal with like a breaker or something staring at you after being chipped for like, 30, 35, 40%. So cycles are being a check. Yes, you can come in like once and not be worried about getting O code, but you give up a lot of momentum, you give up a lot of utility if you get knocked. It's just not a very reliable answer. And I think, that is really indicative of how kind of oppressive Thundy can be. Um,
All of this assumption, like all of this speculation, is assuming that you're running a Solvest Cyclizar. If you don't have the choice to run boots anymore because one focus blast is one shot. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I will say that's not only a product of Thundurus, that's a product of Hisuian Zoroark, that's Gengar, that's especially female Basculegion.
oh yeah,
There's also
that's
Yeah.
true.
Blastoise, which
Kind of
cycles are.
Raikou, kind of not really.
yeah, actually, since we're actually bridging kind of nicely into this next point, so let's just move on to the VR topics from at this point. Again, any last thoughts about Thunderous, Evi, Ampha?
Yeah, if you get the Rex, please ban it. Let's not waste anyone's time.
Yeah, Benton is already.
Thundy is definitely broken. It just picks what it loses to and picks what it beats.
Yeah.
There's really not much nuance to it. It will be what it tries to be. Whatever that thing is, it will beat it.
All right.
Also, Terra Ice, Terra Blast is also pretty nice. Like,
I think
Yeah.
flying is just better in most
yeah,
cases.
flying is better, but Ice
yeah.
is also pretty shiced. Like, you get rid of Terra Electric checks. Like, for example, a Slowbro that just Terra Electrics, and you're just Terra Blasting it away.
I mean, that's kind of Focus Blast food in its own right, but yeah, I guess.
Good luck hitting, bro.
Touche.
All right. On to
Yeah,
the
that's
viability
fun.
rankings. So, for those of you kind of unfamiliar with maybe what the VR is, generally the tier is broken up into kind of categories as you see in front of you right now of what is considered like big meta threats. Right now in S rank we have two Mons, which would be top of the meta. Now whether or not you actually agree with this, personally I don't anymore.
I'm not even close to agreeing.
Yeah, but this is
Anyways,
generally
let's
just like tiers of viability, essentially. What is good in the meta? So in S rank, we have Cobalion Cyclizar, A plus. You have this list of mons, A rank, so on and so forth, A minus, B plus. And yeah. So I feel like a good way to kind of just start off this conversation is maybe look at the S rank and then A plus rank, and kind of just see how we feel about these in general, and then we can talk about the actual shifts later. But for right now, what are kind of the impressions on the VR? Um,
LBN, you should start because I'm curious to hear your opinions.
Cobalion, get down from there. You'll hurt yourself. Cobalion is probably one of my favorite steals to use. I think Jirachi is fucking miserable to use, and it makes every team it gets put on infinitely uglier just by proxy of it being an ugly meh yellow color. Obviously, that has nothing to do with viability. Oh, right, my bad. But yeah, being a fake steal in a Nanimorous economy does suck. Slowbro is everywhere, which also sucks. But honestly, I think you can get a lot done with Slowbro being there just by vaulting into something like a Crawdaunt or a Basculegion. That mon is way too low on the VR, by the way, but that's its own can of worms.
yeah, I mean we'll touch upon that. That's the point of the video. Ampha,
Yeah.
I'm actually curious to hear a little bit of your opinion because you are kind of the guy who is in charge of kind of maintaining the VR thread. Yeah.
Talking about S ranks for the meantime, Uh, both of Cyclozar and Cobalion, I think, were S minus, but uh, S minus or anything. But since we got like only one S minus rate, we had only S minus months. I decided to just make them S because there's no reason to have a S minus rank without any S rank mounts. Like
Exactly. S minus is a fraudulent tier. So that's
I do still think both of Cobalion and Cyclozar are pretty good and like probably above the rest of the months. So I on my personal vote I did get both of Cyclozar and Cobalion for S.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
that reminds
Evie,
me. I need
do
to
you have
put
like
my vote.
opinion? Like, just
No.
what are your kind of
Yeah.
standings on the S rank?
Yeah. Yeah. I also put both in S. I think Cobalion's is a weird one because I could see that it drops. It dropped a little. But for me, there's just way too many sets, and the support it gives is still very, very, very good. So I don't. It's the same with Cyclozar. Like I think this meta is weird in general. So where the mons that basically for me did the most potentially in a game because of versatility or because just the moves they have are so spammable. So I just put them a little bit above. And then in A plus, I just said, yeah, okay, all the really offensive threats or the defensive one that I think are a bit above due to typing or just moves like Hippodon, I put them a bit below. Cobalion and Cyclozar are just for me very unique in what they do in the tier. You could, but I do agree that you could argue Jirachi in that as well.
Yeah. Feen,
Also, S
did you?
minus is fraudulent. I agree.
Um, okay. I'm gonna reveal what I voted for on the VR sheet, and I'm pretty sure those who do not know what I voted will give me some backlash for this. So for mine, I voted Cobalion to be A plus. Cyclizar is obviously S, and then I also put Thundurus-Therian and Slowbro to be S rank.
Good.
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
I have no like
I
objections to
agree.
that.
I think Slowbro could have gone to S. So I'll be honest.
yeah. Anyways, about
Actually,
Cobalion is
I
yeah. Go
think
on.
Reuniclus is better than Slowbro.
Has anyone used Reniclus like a lot recently though?
I've been
Like
spamming Reuniclus. I've been spamming that thing.
yeah.
This mon is
Uh,
great.
I think in
Yeah,
Reuniclus
RUPL
I
is
like.
specifically, there has been a lot more
the
Slowbro
only issue.
representation.
Yeah, the
Yeah, there's
only issue about
also
Reuniclus is that it's a bit harder to slap into teams compared to
yeah.
Slowbro.
Yeah,
But
I'm
I
not
agree,
gonna
it's
let
a better mon than Slowbro.
the stat
Anyway,
distribution for Slowbro is a little more optimized for what you want. It's a little more committed on the physical end, and you still have Calm Mind for special bulk. Regenerator, you cannot write that off. Just getting back that 33% every switch, really strong, especially when you have, and I can kind of hop into this too, the S rank Cyclozar, right? I mean, you have a bike on, what is it, like 60+% of RUPL teams? Like, that is like all time high usage for RU standards. That is, you're talking about like the likes of Horace Venusaur or like I don't know, what was there something like that
Drotagon.
for Sword Shield,
Well, Drotagon and
Oh,
Black and
bad.
White is probably
like
S rank.
Draudigon Black White? Yeah, like
ah,
this is some all time usage numbers. Um,
I'll be honest. I
and
haven't seen Drudigon get that type of usage, mainly because Goldcat's too busy loading Roselias and Cleffables. But
that's true.
Purple is the best one in that year. Like I actually agree with Goldcat on that.
Yeah, but anyway, Cyclozar is just kind of that, which sucks too. You know, because Cyclozar has such high usage, but it also is just like an objectively bad mod. Like you look at everything it does, and it's like it's cool, but it just sucks. Um, which I don't know if that necessarily makes sense. Like, yes, it is a very good mod, but at the same time, it's very bad. Like, I don't know.
Cyclozar is the most abused Pokemon in this tier, but it's also the most necessary one.
Right, it's
Yeah.
easy
okay,
to take advantage of Cyclozar because he doesn't really hit hard. he has kind of bad typing, if we're being honest. Like normal dragon is okay, but it's not like great. Um, his actual like defensive stat line isn't very good. You generally need an assault vest to be like a capable special tank, which is what you want it to be. It just it's a flawed mon, but it is necessary with just kind of how the tier has played
No,
out.
no, I actually disagree with you on one point, and I think that's maybe the problem in what people want it to be. Even with an assault vest, it's not a special tank. Like it's just
Yeah, okay.
not. It's too frail. It's too frail. It's too easy to lure. It's very much like AV Thundurus-Therian in the older gens of OU was. It's like it
Just
pivots into
like
literally everything. It at least guarantees you to take a hit. That's pretty
Yeah,
Uh,
much it. But that's not a wall necessarily. And people who say, oh, I have a Navy Cyclozar, like I'm fine versus special attackers. It's not gonna be conductive to success. Like if you have a Volcanion in front of you and body presses, your Cyclozar is done. So that's not really ideal, and that's probably why you will see that people will struggle and start saying that the mon is bad because they're not using it in an optimal way.
I think my issue with Cyclozar, above anything else, is it's just parabait. I'll be completely honest. The amount of game plans where your goal is to paralyze the Cyclozar at any cost, or pressure the Cyclozar that will show up no matter what happens, and if you don't, odds are the Pokemon wins anyway, is very high. Stuff
yeah.
like
Half
T-Wave Rotom
Thundra.
Heat plus Basculegion. I've seen T-Wave Gengars. It's
Wait, you seen
it's rough.
two-wave Gangers?
I've seen T-Wave Gengars, yes.
That's an objectively bad set, but anyways.
I
I've
get it,
used
but
two-way
I've
Gengar.
I saw one game in RUPL where someone loaded Grass Knot, Volt Switch, Focus Blast, T-Wave, Thundurus-Therian,
Yeah, that's what
solely to
Yeah,
snipe the
it works.
Cyclozar, and I'm like, yeah, let's get the suspect underway.
um, by the way, the non-council members, would you like to join my campaign? My campaign is banning Cyclozar.
yeah. I mean,
No,
I've
no.
personally, I think it would be interesting in RU tier without Cyclozar. But I do think it would be a very different landscape because Cyclozar is kind of that guy holding back a lot of quote unquote broken special attackers. Like, for example, I'll just name the ghosts right now. So Hisuian Zoroark and Gengar, which you don't see right now purely because of the omnipotence, or not omnipotence, the
um,
omnipresence of Cyclozar in the tier. Having like one of the best kind of blanket checks to things, be immune to one of your strongest stabs, is, notwithstanding very bad. If you take exactly Cyclozar out, those two mons in specific, they just rocket up in usage. Basket Legion, we've mentioned, another very strong ghost type. Adaptability boosted, water moves and ghost moves, which guess what? Cyclozar both answer quite well. Um, like just those types of things suddenly shoot up if Cyclozar is gone, and that opens up a whole new can of worms in terms of
yeah.
what we consider good. I don't know.
I, I
It's
Then ban everything.
I do think that one thing that was said in RU discussions that makes a little bit of sense is like you talk about Cyclozar, but on the other end, everyone complains about the psychics, and we just named like 3 or 4 of them that are really
Yeah.
really good in the tier right now. And what happened is we banned so many dark types, and and obviously this has kind of a ripple effect on the metagame right now. So Cyclozar is kind of necessary because of the way tiering has happened. So
Fine.
it's not really it's not really an easy way out of this, and I think this is why ultimately after the Thunderous suspect probably needs like way more to be talked about.
Yeah, but we're not unbanning Zaru. Just saying.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. No,
All of
oh
those dark types that we've sent to the borderline tier, yeah, they all deserve to go.
Yeah,
Each and
yeah.
every
So
exactly.
single one of them.
I will actually inform this a little bit for those of you who don't know what we're talking about. It's like three dark types mainly. So way earlier in February during RULT season, Iron Jugulus was a quick ban. Um, give it a little more time. Zarude was a suspect test. that happened during like I think March, ended up in a ban, and then finally Hooba Unbound, the third dark type, a quick ban. So that kind of three consecutive thing really opened up a lot of viability for, kind of the psychic type Slowbro you see in A plus Reuniclus, which is essentially Slowbro, but just a pure psychic type, I guess. It gave them a lot more opportunity, I think, which is fine. It's just how meta develops, but like, I don't know, man. maybe we let the psychics cook a little too much, bro.
Well,
Yeah.
you can't really do anything about it. The darks, it's either you keep the psychics roaming in the tier, or you free the darks and they rule the tier. So like, I think
Yeah.
the ideal goal would be just banning the broken psychics once
Mm.
this suspect test is over.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I'm surprised by how little Necrozma is talked about. Like just with how good it was in Sword and Shield, and it's kind of taken a back seat. But the mon still pretty much has everything it used to have. So I don't know. I honestly think it's probably one that people aren't really considering, but will pop off at some point, and everyone will complain about it.
Yeah,
I
likely.
actually just won a game with Necrozma on the side right now. This mon is amazing.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, I think it's actually quite a good thing. Kind of where RU was at the beginning of April. I thought the tier was kind of more open than it had been for a long time. Because yeah, the Darks kept a lot of things down. Hoopa, Sarud, Jugulus to an extent, they were very limiting in the builder with what you could run without getting, absolutely swept by one of those guys. So in terms of options, I think there's a lot of things just that could be used right now. Necrozma, being one of them.
I think Necrozma. I think it's like B plus on the VR. I think it could go to A
It
minus.
is
Honestly,
because
that mon is excellent. I think
Yeah,
DD sets have gotten a lot better with Hippowdon falling off.
yeah. Actually,
uh
we
Because
can.
people realize that ground types that aren't Hippowdon actually exist.
I feel like it's
when
actually this is a quite good time to kind of jump into A plus rank and some of the mons there because we've kind of been touching on them, but we can actually like address them for what it is. Um,
since we are talking about Necrozma right now, I wanna say that I've been using a lot of SD Necrozma on past games, and it has been like great every time because plus two SD just cleans up so much.
yeah,
Because you can't really one hit KO Necrozma because of what's his price
Prism
9?
armor.
Prism
Prism
Armor.
Armor, yeah, yeah,
It's just a way to good ability when you can also combo it with terrestrialization. So like you can Terra Water, Terra Ground, Terra Dark, Terra anything basically.
yeah.
Or electric.
Yeah.
But
Terra
yeah,
Electric.
I do.
That's something that I think has been popping up a lot more in recent times.
Yeah,
Mostly because of these two goons. They're like right next to each other in the VR too. So Jirachi and Thundurus. Two main offenders for Terra Electric for two different reasons. Jirachi is because of Terra spam and Ironhead flinching you into the ground, which it has been doing forever because it is good at doing that. And then Thundurus, we kind of already touched upon what Thundurus does. It hits hard or it like knocks you off in volt switches and makes life annoying. But um, yeah, how do y'all feel about Jirachi specifically? A new addition to the tier, relatively, but it's been here for a month. How do you think things have played out?
I think it's okay for now. I mean, it doesn't allow like force you to run stupid stuff like Covert Cloak on some mons, which is actually not that stupid. It's kind of underrated as well. Um,
yeah,
you also see the rise of some mons like Crocodile and like Salamence with like Earthquake, which is a pretty nice Jirachi check. Moltres as well, just making sure Jirachi doesn't touch it or it gets burned. So you do have decent counterplay against Jirachi. I mean, games can easily end with like Ironhead flinches or not, but yeah, I think it's just it overall it's a positive introduction to the tier.
Okay.
Yeah, I do think I think Jirachi has like obviously it has a lot of sets, right? But I think there's something lacking for every single one of them, which is what makes it pretty balanced right now.
Right.
Like
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, Scarf is just lacks way too much power, and based on 100, Scarf isn't what it used to be. So it's kind of a weird support mode that doesn't heal, that takes hazards, so it kind of doesn't really work as well as you want it to. CM, when all the other CM modes have reliable recovery, like the other psychics or Pheasantipity, CM just really lacks that, I feel. Because you can't run Wish on CM, there's just not enough slots.
Yeah.
And so Meteor Beam is cool, though. I do really like that set. But even then, like, it just
Would you
lacks
like the
the.
grassy terrain in Amorous?
Oh, God. Yeah. But like, it doesn't have a fire move. It doesn't have a strong fairy move either. So it's just lacking a little bit.
I
I
did
think
see
that
this interesting set.
Jirachi gets Moonblast, doesn't it? Or did it lose it in
No,
the?
no,
it
it never
lost
got
it.
Moonblast.
Of
Well,
course it
It
lost it.
was
Thank you.
Moonblast.
Wait, did it ever have Moonblast? I don't think
It
so.
got it from event. It needed to
yeah,
be
I'm
shiny to
pretty sure.
use it, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
Jirachi
all
used to
type
have
up.
Moonblast, one of those like old event only item moves. But
Yeah, I think it got it in Gen 7. Don't quote me on that though.
yeah, I
I'm
don't
gonna
know.
start on Jirachi though. I
Yeah,
think this mon is kind of stupid. I'll be honest. The amount of Terra Electrics that have been slapped on extremely random Pokemon that have no business ever running it otherwise, besides trying to snipe games out from underneath people just because of Terra Electric. I am using a team right now. Terra Electric is on a Lilligant. It is also on a Necrozma.
Well, that is also for Thundurus, but yeah,
Well, yes, but I'm not using Terra Electric on a Hisuian Lilligant who's faster anyway.
yeah, that's fair.
I've
Well, you
seen
can still set off.
in RUPL, I saw Hisuian Braviary with Terra Electric. It didn't get to use Terra Electric because it missed on an Iron Leaves and died, but that's besides the point. That's
Yeah, but I think I agree with you on that. That it's mostly for Jirachi Thunderous, and you could say, well, maybe those are a bit of a problem, but like your general boring Terra has changed a lot. Like sometimes it was Ghost, sometimes it was Water. Like a team had 4 Terra Water. Why? No reason. But so Terra Electric's kind of the flavor of the moment, but I don't really think it's a bad thing. It has other utility, like on Lilligant, it snipes Moltres, which is really useful. So, and it doesn't have a lot of weaknesses, which is what makes a good like random Terra good. It's like you're weak to ground, okay, but grounds are pretty easy to manage in this tier, so it's not bad anyway.
for me. When I mentioned only 2 Pokemon with Terra. Oh, was someone talking? You're
Evie,
echoing.
you're
Evie.
echoing.
Oh wait, I make one. Oh sorry.
But there are, I think the just complete dearth of Terra Electrics on completely random things does say something to the degree of influence Jirachi has, which I do think is a bit excessive. I don't think almost any of these Pokemon would ever run Terra Electric if those two weren't in the tier. Primarily Jirachi. I
Agreed.
saw one replay of RUPL where an Enamorous clicked Calm Mind, clicked Terra Electric, and Okoda Jirachi from full, which I think is a disgustingly unhealthy dynamic. Which we'll get to we'll get to Enamorous soon. But
yeah. I mean, I'll throw my 2 cents in here too, since we're talking about the Terra Electric thing. I personally am a believer that Terras should have some sort of purpose. Like having a team with random, like, I don't know, 6 Terra Waters, or like you just not even changing the Terras at all. I feel like that's just lazy building. I really do. Um, Terra is such a kind of game changing mechanic. I feel like if you're not optimizing it somehow, it really is just kind of doing a disservice to yourself and the team. Now, with that being said, I think having Terra Electric for Jirachi specifically and Thundurus, but we're suspecting Thundurus. So for our purposes, I'm just gonna look at it as Jirachi primarily. I think it's not bad, but I think it's also like just very funny seeing how like you have random slow bros or like Enamorus running Terra Electric just so they don't get C teamed by Jirachi. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's funny. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's really good. I think it's just kind of how metagame is. If it wasn't for Jirachi, it would be for something else. You have terrors for a reason. If that reason is Jirachi, fine. If that reason is something else, also fine. I don't care. Um, but I think kind of just the general thing for me, 'cause I don't like Jirachi personally. I feel like it turns games into non-games. Do y'all know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you have a Jirachi in and it clicks Body Slam, and before you know it, out of 12 Pokemon on both sides, like 10 of them are paralyzed. And then things just become like a non-game. Then it's like, okay, who gets to move? Who gets, you know, to click a button, or who gets paralyzed, or who gets Iron Head flinched down, or so on and so forth. So I don't like that type of dynamic, and we've seen that a couple times in RUPL specifically. Um, I don't know if y'all feel the same way about that, but that's kind of just how I'm standing on the issue.
I think I agree. I wanted to like Jirachi, and originally I thought it was just going to be all right. And I still maintain what I said at the very start, that Scarf Jirachi is a terrible Pokemon and a waste of a Scarfer. That it does next to nothing. It's a Scarfer that doesn't kill anything. It's slower than Iron Leaves, which, if you're going to use a Scarfer slower than Iron Leaves, you can do that. Pokemon like Gardevoir are still very good. Jirachi did not change that, despite what the VR would make you think. There's other Scarfers like I've seen Scarfers like a Zelf. I think a Zelf is kind of cool. There's Scarf Cleavor. I've seen that a couple times. You could I think I've seen a couple Scarf Okidogi,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's becoming more and more popular.
but there are, and Basculegion as well. But Scarf Jirachi just does nothing. Contact moves are not great with all the Rocky Helmet because of a certain group of mice, which I'll also get to that point with the Terra Electric part. I want to run other Terras. I want to be able to use Ghost to be able to check the stupid rat. I want to be able to run like Terra Grass or something on like an Empoleon, so I don't get paralyzed and suddenly have it somehow manage to lose to a Jirachi with hazards up. Which that has actually happened to me. I've had my Empoleon flinched down by a Jirachi.
Yeah,
And
you
fully
haven't
armored.
you haven't played DPPOU. This happens all the
Oh,
time, dude.
I played DDP a decent bit.
Yeah,
I
and
know
see,
what kind of war crimes Jirachi does, but usually when my Empoleon dies to Jirachi is from HP Grounds or Thunders.
Oh,
Or
yeah,
Thunder.
but
I've
see
lost
that's
I've
like
lost track of that.
what
But
I'm talking about. Like the paralysis of a lot of people have very negative opinions of DPPOU in like the modern day because of exactly Jirachi, because it'll just sit there and it'll like make your life miserable with like body slams or like being super Rachi. Like I, I don't know.
I think
Again,
I thought a lot of the DPP stigma was honestly Clefable
Someone
eh,
should link this video to
being
Beast
just
HP.
incredibly obese and making teams a lot fatter overall.
yeah,
But this is kind of straying off topic a bit.
Yeah.
Overall, I think Jirachi, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it go. I do appreciate it what it does in checking Reuniclus, who that's a
Not
broken check
really.
broken, by
Not
the way.
really. Not
Reuniclus is very
really.
dumb.
Yeah, I know. I know.
yeah.
One of
I
my
will actually.
favorite.
Yeah, go ahead,
You go ahead.
LBN. All right.
One of the Reunicluses I've been using lately is from SS, but it's Psychic Noise T-Wave knockoff. This set just it helps with Iron Leaves because Leaf Blade just doesn't OHKO, so you can just get a T-Wave off unless it's also Terra Electric. You see a trend yet?
But that's the thing, right? That's where I'm. People kind of lose me in this argument because like there was a time in Sword and Shield where T-Wave Togekiss was winning a lot of games too, and like T-Wave mons have always been good, and it's just yes, Jirachi helps a lot, obviously, but we had Klefki as a top tier, and everyone was like, T-Wave, T-Wave. So it's just to me, the fact that people are like, wait, I can use Terra Electric and it's fine. I don't think it's a problem at all. And I don't think that Body Slam Marionette Jirachi is necessarily a problem. Like, yes, it sucks when it works, but things being annoying for me are never a good reason for a suspect or a ban. Like, it's
I
just like.
agree, but for me,
Yeah.
this feels like a Covert Cloak solves Garganical problem, where, sure, I can neutralize Jirachi very easily by running Terra Electric on things. But what am I?
Well,
What I'm
I
not
mean,
running Terra Electric on things? I want to die.
you can't really compare Garganacle to Jirachi because like Garganacle still like if you're not running Covert Cloak, it does so much more progress, and I don't think Jirachi is doing that much progress.
It was the closest comparison I could do as far
Yeah.
as one
Yeah,
small
but that's like
item or Terra
that's
change
a
making a Pokemon more manageable, even though that Pokemon is most very troublesome in most cases.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
I
think
mean,
Jirachi is
I
troublesome
see
in
where
most
you're
cases.
coming from with the comparison. I mean, you're likening in this case an item slot though to Terra, which are I, they're both big concessions, but I do think it's a bit of a reach. Garganical is it. I don't know. He provides a lot more outside of like even when you like quote unquote stop him, like you stop Salt Cure from like doing your passive damage.
It
It
can
can still
curse
beat
up,
you. Yeah, it'll still
Yeah.
beat
and
you.
then the
Yeah,
ability. So there's
Iron
like
Press
so
Guard
it's not a
is.
fair comparison.
Yeah, the setup Garg is what makes it really stupid, and the fact that Stalker is one of the most busted move I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my
And
god.
that's
Yeah,
saying something. In
Oh,
Generation 9 with a host of broken
Mini
moves.
Garganical was like for a decent chunk in RU last year. What's
Knuckle
the
Okay,
Stack.
name?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Knuckle Stack.
Knuckle stack? Yeah.
Knuckle Stack, yeah.
That one was so good in early RU, like for the reason that
I feel
it's a
like we
ban.
banned Reuni and Knuckle Stack is real again. I'll be
Yeah,
honest.
actually, yeah, let's rein it back in.
I should
So,
probably use.
are there any like kind of closing comments about Jirachi specifically? Ampha, I don't think we've really heard a lot from you on kind of the
It's
Jirachi
it's
discourse.
mostly because what everyone said was basically my opinions. I just wanted to say that as well that Scarf Jirachi is like pretty bad as well because most things got faster as well. Like you have Scarf Gengar, Scarf, and a couple of other mounts. So like it's not as effective as it would be like in Gen 7 or Gen 8.
Just one sec. Angel, we're doing a video for Argue YouTube. Please leave.
And everyone is missing Angel's cat right now, and it's
Yeah,
absolutely amazing.
Oh,
I'm
we
checking.
saw the cat. We
Yeah, we
saw
saw
it.
it. We saw it. It's a cute cat.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
Anyways, go on,
so
Ampha.
yeah,
I'm fine.
Huh?
Ampha?
We
We're
moving
oh,
on to
did you have anything else
Enamoris?
to add about
Oh,
Jirachi or
no, I don't think so. It was mostly those things which I said right now.
okay, cool. In that case, I'll open up. Like I don't know. Is there any other mon in A plus that we would like to talk about, like in depth?
Thundurus-Therian form.
All right.
Before we talk about Enamorous, I just want to say I voted Okidogi for in the VR for A plus, and it's a crime that it's like an A minus. People are mad
I think
sleeping.
okay. I think Dogi should be A. A plus
Okay,
seems like. I
I
mean,
think
okay,
yeah,
okay.
done one.
Hippowdon
they are
should
A.
fall from A plus, and Dogi should be A.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Cool.
Okay,
But
yeah,
yeah,
Enamorous.
yeah. LBN, you wanted to talk about Enamoris? We'll leave the floor to you.
I, as someone who has religiously used Cobalion and realized where'd my fairy type go? Where's my fairy resist? Yeah, this mod is kind of silly. Obviously, even when you're using a real steel like Empoleon or Jirachi, that's the end of our real steel list. Those two just get earth powered and they die. It's really wild. I'm trying to think. One of the best checks to Enamoris is Moltres and Rotom Heat. That's usually about as good as you get. Amoonguss as well if they're not running that Mystical Fire. I personally have tried running Weather Ball to snipe Moltres down in sand and just OHKO it out the game. I didn't get to use that versus Chungler and Ladder Tour, unfortunately, because I lost the first 2 games. But
Unfortunate doesn't begin to describe.
this this
Yeah.
Pokemon has a lot of nonsense. That bit about Terra Electric OHKOing a Jirachi after 1 Calm Mind is a crazy calc, and I apologize for ever thinking that Enamorous would be fine with its presence. It's not. It's still stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll be honest. I think it's the most broken one in the tier.
I can see that.
Because Moltres is barely a switch in, because like you don't even need to run like setup or specs. Oh my god, there's echo. Sorry. But yes, so Moltres gets a like if you hit it with like a random sludge bomb and it's poisoned, like Moltres sucks as a check. Sorry, Rotomeat. I've unfortunately learned this the hard way. You need Nasty Blood like really badly. So and you need Thunderbolt. So the pivot set is kind of really in a poor place versus Enamorous because CM and draining kills just means it wins. So you can't run like Pain Split, Wisp, like that's done. If you run Among Us, well, okay, Terra Steel, Among Us loses. So there's really
Or even Terra Electric, honestly.
yeah, well, yeah, but you can get Clear Smog.
Yeah.
So that's, but even then, like maybe if you run sub Terra Electric, I can see it. So I don't know, like I think this is the one that has the easiest way to beat everything that quote unquote checks it. And Specs is still one of the most busted breakers we have by far.
One that I've neglected to mention, mainly because I forgot, is Enamorous T gets agility.
Yep.
Yeah.
That set is really dumb, and I have won a lot of games on the spot by just earth powering their Jirachi once.
I think
Yeah.
one of the you can see it clearly in one of the seasonals games. I think I had against Franklin where he used a covert cloak, Terra Steel, Enamorous, and that just almost won from there. So yeah, it can easily take away games. I think this is gonna be the next one we want to look at, but maybe still not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw the 2 cents into it. Enamorous, it's very, very good. A lot of the kind of the discourse before Jirachi came was the lack of a real steal in the tier, and that was mostly because of Enamorous.
Y'all are
Also,
sleeping on Bronzong.
Gardevoir, but generally just like a steel type that would resist fairy that you could kind of throw in and kind of be worry free about it and not dying. Cobalion did not do that when it came to Enamorous. I think the
And nor
power,
did
the
Bisharp.
bulk, the typing, all of it is really just big contributors to Enamorous being strong. It runs Calm Mind, dual fairy stab, earth power. That's generally the set, and it really just does the job it wants to. It blows things up. It snipes steals on the switch ins. If you let your steals go too early, it can just beat you. Like I think it's a very good mon. Yeah.
It's just a funny coincidence that Enamorous has been RU for a long while now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
At
think
least
it
like
has
6 months.
been well, it has been the tier since January when Napoleon and a couple of other things dropped down.
Yeah, so the fact that we're still realizing this is kind of broken. Well, I mean, the tier had more broken things to deal with. Thunderous right now, but yeah, it's something that we really want to look at in the near future, depending on the results of the Thunderous suspect test.
Realistically, Hoopa has been, I mean, Enamorous has been broken since day one. It's
I've been
just we've
saying
had
that.
bigger
I've been
fish
saying
to
that.
fry each and every time. Hydreigon was stupid. Comfy was Comfy was not okay.
Oh no,
Iron
that's not.
Jugulus, Zarude. There was.
Wait, hold on.
I
Did
don't
we
remember.
have Hydreigon in the tier?
Oh yeah, we had
Yeah,
Hydreigon. You
we
forgot that
had
as a member of the Broken Dark Club.
we
Ah,
had
oh,
Hydreigon and Manaphy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh
man.
yeah,
We also had
right.
Haxorus, and some people
Yeah.
delusioned themselves into thinking that Pokemon would be acceptable.
I
All right.
mean,
we
Let's
immediately
really
go.
do that.
get it back to VR.
To
Is
be
there
fair, we
anything
just got
else
that. We had just gotten
about
Samus.
Therian that we want to talk about before we move on?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anyone else like want to talk about them on an A plus? I feel like some of these are, we've talked about the psychics, Jirachi and Amorous, Therian, Hippowdon, Moltres are like cool. They're
I mean,
fat.
Hippowdon should not be A plus.
I don't think Moltres should be A plus.
No, Moltres is more splashable.
Okay, but
Moltres
do
is more
we
important.
have anything to talk about specifically those mons?
No.
Not really, no.
All right, cool. Let's go to kind of A/A minus, and then we'll just like shift over to like the shifts themselves and see what's
It's
up with
an
that.
absolute crime that Iron Leaves is not A plus.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I think it's fine. And
Meanwhile,
I'll be honest.
I just realized I voted A on that as well. Whoops.
Good
Big
job.
hypocrite energy. Wow, Feen, that's crazy. But yeah, I mean, Iron Leaves is
Anyways,
crazy, man. One of the most potent sweepers in the tier. You can like boost your speed, sword stance, bam, things are dead. Terror Blast, close combat, wild charge sometimes, things are dying. Really potent mon. Really potent mon.
I feel the same way about Iron Leaves that I feel about River Room. They're both in A because they're mad good on HO and they have like Terra versatility, but outside of like clicking that one move to set up and hopefully win, they just lack a little more that the mons I put above have.
have you seen the recent Iron Leaf set? The one with the attack booster SD.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the other set.
Oh
You mean
no,
for
no, no.
electric
We're not talking about that. The attack booster SD set. That
or
is
choice
a
band?
very good set.
Yeah, attack booster is really good too.
Yeah,
I
'cause,
think attack booster genuinely sucks. I'll be honest.
well, as a breaker, if you're not using it in an HO, instead you're using it
Yeah.
on a balance team.
I feel
Like
like at that point I'd kind of just rather use choice band, honestly.
no, because
Okay,
if
see,
you SD, you one shot Moltres.
yeah, I will
I
say
think.
this. Iron Leaves with an attack booster is somewhat of an unexplored mon because there are a lot of
Yeah.
very interesting calcs that happen with an SD on attack booster that you don't get otherwise. Namely,
Yeah.
getting rid of like fat fire types. So like Moltres, like I don't know,
Volcanion.
Volcanion,
Heat.
Rotom Heat, even like Revavroom. Revavroom doesn't die to like just standard +2 Psyblade, I don't think.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But like these things are important for other mons to have out of the way. For example, Revavroom. Like one of the most sturdy answers to a Revavroom is a Terra Steel Moltres or a Terra Steel Rotom Heat, both of which can get just absolutely bodied by Iron Leaves without needing to burn a Terra with an attack booster SD set. So it's two different things. I think they really do fit two different roles, Wall Breaker versus Sweeper. Banded, sure, you can definitely run that as an option. Certainly not as popular. But it kind of fills that same role of like being a breaker, and I think that's important to differentiate. Not all leaves are meant to do the same thing, if that makes any sense.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Ampha,
Hey,
you want to say anything?
about what?
Like leaves, broom. That's kind of what
Like,
the
if
topic
you
we're talking
No,
about.
I don't think I have much to say about Leaves, but I don't think Iron Leaves is broken,
Yeah.
on my personal opinion. I think
I
it's
think
really
it's
it's really
noticeably
good,
lower down the list of broken things compared to
yeah,
Enamorous or
for
Reunion
now,
or
yes.
Jirachi.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
I know a handful of people whose game plan into like team building is if I face an Iron Leaves, I will burn a Terra. That is not a good way to beat them all.
I mean
I feel like you kind of don't have a choice unless you load very specific stuff like Overcoil or T-Wave Reuni, as I've mentioned before. But
Oh
beyond
no,
those,
that doesn't work. That doesn't work because I built a T-Wave Reuni team the other day, and one of the players in my REPL team is like, Terra Electric Iron Leaves just 6-0s. And I realized, oh,
Terra
you're right.
Electric leaves 6-0s whatever it wants. That's not special. If they want to load Terra Electric, you know what? They earned the win. They didn't earn it, but they win.
But again, I mean, I think that just again kind of speaks to the diversity of like breaking power Leaves has. I mean, we're talking about
Yeah.
like different Terras, but the move set too. I mean, you're generally locked in, I think, to your dual stabs. You commonly pretty see like Leaf Blade and Side Blade. Sometimes you swap out close combat for one of those two. Depends on what you want, but I mean, besides that, close combat, you have like Wild Charge if you want to run Terra Electric. You have Terra Blast. You have
I
Taunt
don't
has
think
been
you
something
ever
that's been
run Wild Charge. That's an objectively bad move on
hey,
Iron
listen,
Leaves.
listen. It's on the CNC thing. So I have to write about it. We're gonna talk about it. Um,
To be honest, if you run like Leaf Blade CC, you kind of have to run Wild Charge, like, because otherwise you don't beat Moltres at all.
Oh
You just
yeah,
run
Leaf
them.
Blade
Run
CC
Terra
then
Fire
I
for
guess
that.
yeah, but like why wouldn't you run Side Blade?
And not running Psyblade means you now lose deflection
Have
off
fun
the
getting
whole
walled by
thing.
Okidogi.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's another
mean,
thing.
but yeah, I mean, Leaves
Iron
it
Leaves
is
rolled by Okidogi.
kind of just at baseline very strong. As like a breaker or sweeper, whatever you really want it to be, it's Iron Leaves.
yeah. If we talk about the others in A rank, I think Volcanion is extremely good, and
Yeah.
has a case for A plus as well.
I think Volcanion should have been A plus. It should have had that spell Moltres has. I'm sorry. A status Moltres is a B plus Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Volcanion does
Volcanion
not have
too.
U-turn.
That is
Like
true.
I've
Sometimes
tried
Moltres
things
is
like
dropping U-turn though. You know.
I've tried offensive Moltres with like offensive Hurricane with Paraspam. Just doesn't hit. It just doesn't hit.
I mean that's just Moltres.
I mean,
Right.
yeah, but it also doesn't help with things like Rhyperior, where I either use Scorching Sands and don't care about Rhyperior, or I can't U-turn, or I
Well, you can
don't have
just
roots.
U-turn, exactly. You just U-turn. Volcanion is good because it beats Cyclizar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
another thing.
there's a
Volcanion
very
beats whatever it wants besides Gastrodon.
I think Volcanion is very good for two reasons. One, it's a special attacker that doesn't really care about Cyclizar. You can click Steam Eruption and then Body Press, and sometimes Cyclizar is just dead, which is, you can't understate how good that is. We literally spent an entire time talking about how good Cyclizar is, how like necessary it is for the tier. So just having a
How
special
broken it is,
attacker,
yeah.
yeah, having a special attacker that just removes that. I mean, come on, that's
My,
fantastic. Uh,
my favorite dynamic of this tier is Cyclizar being used for so many things, and it beats absolutely none of them.
But the other thing specifically with Volcanion is water absorb, and we can talk about this a little bit later. With I see the two B mons like right below. We're going to get to you too, but being a water absorber means you can kind of have it and be okay-ish versus Rain or Blastoise, which we can talk about soon. But um, like with Terra, Volcanion can basically stonewall your common Rain sweepers in like Barraskewda or like Basculegion slash Kingdra, whatever. Overquill not so much, but yeah, whatever. Who cares? Overquill kills everything.
Another thing I like about Volcanion is that like it's such a good Thundurus-Therian lure. Like
Yeah,
I had like multiple instances where the Thundurus comes into T-ball, I just tear a ground with electric and nuke it.
yeah,
So that's really nice for a mon to have.
yeah, absolutely. It's a fairy resist. Something we talked about a little bit with Enamorous. It also gets blown up by Earth power, but fairy ground
Well,
coverage
you
covers
outspeed
basically
it.
everything.
You outspeed it, so you
Yeah,
can do one hit before dying.
yeah. It
It
has like
does
great
solid
bulk.
35.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it has
Sometimes
like pretty
that's
good bulk.
worth it.
It's like kind of fast, not really fast, but like fast enough for the purposes you want it for. Hits like a tank, has water absorb. I think it's just like an overall solid mon. Like Volcan's a well designed mon, in my opinion.
Wait, hold on. I have a
I
question.
think
How
I
much
think
does Volcanion?
some people also tried with Fire Spin Volcanion on RUPL.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
Trapper
remember
Volk.
if it was RUPL or seasonal. I don't really remember, but it did well.
Yeah, that's a good set as well.
Yeah, it has a lot of options. Like obviously stabs are extremely good, but like body press, taunt, fire spin, and even Terra Blast for lures. It's a very good mod.
Yeah.
And yes, the ability helps a ton versus some matchups. And like it's really good in versus Sun and Rain, which is not a lot of mons can say. So yeah,
Cool. All right.
thanks.
Never mind.
We
What?
moving on to A
I was
minus
trying
then?
to I
Yeah,
was
I mean
trying to
that was
cook Heavy Slam Volcanion, but it does 40 to Enamorous. Never mind.
so that I mean those are kind of the two I wanted to talk about. I mean, I think Revivroom shares a lot of the same things that Leaves does, and we kind of touched upon that. Pheasantipity is itself, but like I don't know. I don't really feel
Let's
like
let's not talk about Pheasantivity. That
yeah, I
mon
don't
is
really feel like we need to go in depth about that. But
That mon should not be A rank. I'll be honest. It could go to A minus.
I think
sure.
it should be a minus as well.
And
Wait,
then
let me
let's
check what
look at A
I know.
minus. So this is definitely like a much
Whoop.
bigger tier, and I think we'll like kind of end with A minus. We'll talk about the shifts after. Um,
I do want to do one final segment for just specific things and everywhere else worth talking about.
sure, we can
Because
like
there are
talk about a few,
definitely a lot
but
of Pokemon in lower ranks that are arguably seen more than A minus, even.
all
I've seen
right,
more
Fair.
Power Fans than
A
Gengars.
minus. Is there anyone who wants to bring something up specifically just to talk about? We'll like do two or three.
Rhyperior, I'm
Uh,
gonna miss you.
anyways, Okie dokie is really good. I think it should be A at least.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I
So
think
Okie Dokie, I think
yeah.
is a very
Recently
versatile
its
one.
rise has been pretty good because Scarf set, and then you have the Bandit set as well, and the setup sets. It's
Yeah,
really good, and its ability as well.
also, like I tried a taunt, like a taunt 3 attacks, and it's really annoying because mm, like for example, if Adam gets poisoned on the knock and you taunt it, it can't really do anything. Like sure, it's a predict or like Sun as well. Sun's been popping off recently. It has the same issue. It's not a really reliable Okidogi check.
Where
Yeah.
is Palossand in the rankings?
It's
I think
currently
it's
B
went
minus.
from. I
B
think it
minus?
went.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Are you
incredibly
kidding me?
undersold.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Uh. Finn, just let me talk about Paulson real quick. Paulson was C before.
Yeah,
C.
yeah.
Well, it should
I
be A minus.
okay. No, relax on A minus. It should be B or B plus.
Okay. We can talk
Probably
about
B
Palisand
plus.
too, but right now I do want to kind of
Okay,
like
fine, B
mention some
plus.
stuff about the dog. I think it's just like a good mon. You know, right now having a good like fighting type is pretty important. Cycles are is very abusable by all the good fighting types. So you know, having Ogie Dogie, someone who's like pretty good typing, fighting poison, it covers the fairies, which you know would otherwise kind of want to switch in Amorous, looking at you. Toxic Chain is a great ability. Every move becomes Scald, but for Toxic. So I mean, I feel like I don't really need to talk more about how that's useful. You can just get random poisons sometimes. Sometimes the game's win condition is just get random poisons. You know what I'm saying? So you know
I
that's
was yeah. Sorry, I
yeah.
was playing it with someone on ladder, like I that I know, and like so many times they just clicked random moves with Okidogi just to hope to get a poison, and when it works, it's just oh well, I can't really do anything about that.
Yeah, and this is kind of one of the things about like Covert Cloak. I mean, the Toxic Chain Mons, mostly Okidogi and Pheasantipity. Another benefit of having Cloak is you kind of dodge Toxic Chain procs. That's just kind of how the game is. And Okidogi is fun too because you can knock off the Covert Cloak and then you know still get Toxic Chain procs. So you know just
Yeah, I
overall,
hate that interaction whenever I
yeah.
face an Okidogi. I'm like, I cannot switch to my Covert Cloak mount.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Because it's just funny interactions all around. It hits really hard. The typing itself is kind of good defensively.
Yeah.
Being a poison type is kind of useful in the tier right now. Uh, being a fighting type is also kind of useful in the tier right now. So yeah, I think it's just like overall very solid.
Yeah, Okidoki is very good. I think its resistances are a little undersold. This thing could chuck Bisharp. I could chuck it into a Bisharp like 2 times in a game. I could just chuck it into a
Well,
lot.
that's not really 2 times because you have Drain Punch.
Well,
and
you know what I mean. Just without
Yeah,
any
yeah,
kind of interference from like ghosts, etc.
correct. Yeah. Do we want to talk about any other Mon in
I'm going to
the
talk about
Empoleon.
Blastoise. I will put that out there. And Barraskewda.
Uh,
Let's just talk about the waters in general. Waters
so I
are
wanna
stupid.
I wanna talk about Blastoise because I've been a Blastoise ban advocate since like day one of the meta.
Yeah,
I just
go
I
for it,
just
Ampha.
think that
Learn
I
to
just
build, bro.
I just think that water, ice, and grass is too good of a combination for Blastoise. Like you pretty much get a really decent chance to kill Cyclops from full. Even as if it's not a Southwest, you just drop. Cyclops just drops, and pretty much it's like really tough to check as well because you have Dark Pulse, you have Terra Electric, you have Terra Grass, and you can't really check out all the three options in one slot. I'm still I still think the size is broken. Just gonna say that as well.
I think a
Yeah,
lot of the Pokemon in A minus shouldn't be an A minus. I think Blastoise and Empoleon should be an A rank. I think Fazandipiti should be an A minus. I think Okidogi should be A. I think Rhyperior should be A, if not A plus. I think Zapdos Galar could be A. I
yeah.
think
I don't see the
Region
appeal
could
with
be A
Zapdos Galar,
minus.
honestly. Why do people like Zapdos Galar? Can someone explain?
I
It's a
think
fast fighting
it's
type,
best
has
said.
pivot move. That's it. It's pretty
So does
straightforward.
Mienshao, and it has Regen.
Most of our fighting types have pivot moves. That's not the point. It's Brave
Yeah.
Bird kills everything.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I
Just
would
make
actually
space
heavily
for
disagree with
yourself.
that. Just like how the tier is kind of played out, it's Zapdos very often, even before, like with how things were going with like Zarude meta, it'd be very often you'd have a Zapdos just kind of chuck itself into a Hippowdon and die, and the Hippowdon would be at full. So
I think the
I
best Zapdos set is Protective Pad's Thunderous Kick. No U-turn.
okay. I mean, I think
My
that's
man's
certainly
cooking.
set. Like it's Zapdos is interesting for the fact it's well one a defiant mon, and then two the flying fighting typing is interesting coverage. Brave Bird is certainly a very strong hit. The recoil is not ideal, but you can get over it because of the power. Close combat always very good. Knockoff always very good. Um, Scarf is like pretty okay as one of the like we mentioned this before, but base 100 isn't particularly fast anymore for a Scarfer. But Zapdos can pull it off pretty reasonably well. Probably the best of the base 100s we have, if I'd have to say so. Um,
I mean, it's just Jirachi or Zapdos, so you don't really
yeah,
have that much of competition.
yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's kind
There's
of
Flygon. Flygon's not terrible, but yeah.
yeah. I definitely think there's kind of a gap between like Zapdos, Galar, even Jirachi, and then like Flygon. But I mean, options.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I think the slight problem with I agree with LBN that the best Zapdos set are not choiced because like the best thing it has is the coverage is really good and it doesn't make sense really like it does make sense but it's limited so much to choice it unlike something like Flamigo for example where we had the same typing, but with Scrappy, CC was just so much more spammable. Like you don't really have that with Zapdos Galar, and that really hurts it in a lot of games. So it just ends up being kind of a bit of a U-turn bot that smacks itself into rock helmets, and it's not really as satisfactory as you would want it to be for how good it could be offensively.
Yeah.
Oh, Giant.
Okay, but I will also like kind of go back to the whole Blastoise bit. Um, just having like a Shell Smash Blastoise is very good. Uh, plus twos across the board, water ice coverage, and then Terra Blast coverage generally as last move, whether that be like electric or grass. Most teams can't handle that. like it's in kind of one of the similar spots with like Leaves or Thundurus-Therian, where as a setup sweeper you kind of have to commit a Terra to it, just because most people aren't accounting for it in like the baseline of their team. And it's not like it's really hard to buy a lot of setup for Blastoise either. You look at the tier and they're like, being a water type with okay bulk, you set up on a fair amount of things, like all your ground types, your Hippowdons, your Rhyperiors, uh, Moltres. Um, I don't know, Cyclizar. Cyclizar can't really hit you meaningfully, so you just kind of shell smash and then threaten it to like Oko with like an Ice Beam or something. It's a big threat. I think it deserves a little more respect. But I'm not mad per se. It's an A minus because it is kind of flawed, a little bit limited to just shell smash. So if you see it coming, it's not the hardest to prevent.
Well, the
Yeah,
so is Revavroom, so
yeah,
so is
that's
Iron
also
Leaf.
true. Hey,
Well, okay, not really Iron Leaf, but Revavroom. So like, they're
I didn't
really
make the
good
tier
at
list,
what they
man.
do.
I didn't make the tier list. If it was up to me, Blastoise wouldn't even be in the tier. I think this thing is incredible. But yeah, I mean that's where I stand on that.
Skill issue. Should we
Okay,
move to the last segment where LBN complains about why this mon is in this rank?
yeah, sure. We
Pretty
are
much,
going
yeah.
a little bit long,
I
so let's keep this like kind of brief. Um,
Yeah, I just want to mention maybe like 2 or 3 Pokemon.
yeah,
First off,
sure.
Palisand. This
Yeah,
Pokemon
agreed.
is everywhere. It is our tier's best spin blocker by a mile. Blanking
Yep.
Cyclizar, with it being one of the only hazard removal in the tier besides like Defog and Kelder, is huge. There's other ones like Talonflame, I guess, and Tidy Up,
Burn,
I
but
suppose.
yeah, they suck.
But for the most part, if a Palisand is alive, a Cyclizar should not be able to spin
Yeah,
if
I mean,
played well.
I think it's important to note Palisand like basically single-handedly enables an entire playstyle, which is Spike Stack.
Yeah,
It's very common to see like Palisand plus a Spiker. We have plenty of Spikers. That could be like I don't know, Chestnut or like Klefki or
DOD.
I don't know. Yeah, like literally
I
any
Or
Spiker plus Palisand, and it enables Palisand is the key enabling that entire thing.
yeah,
Just because it's a Ghost type and it's
I've
bad at
seen
recovery.
Gastrodon, Chestnut, Klefki, and DOD, and I think
Yeah,
all of them pair pretty well with Palisand.
yeah.
I, I do wonder if we will see a Power Wave Cyclizar back, because that that was pretty much the meta at one point.
Yeah, that's
And
been the
I've
background.
looked
That
at
that was
Power
in the
Whip
background.
Cyclizar. I hate to break it to you, it does 30.
Yeah,
there's
I mean your
Yeah,
best
Draco
bet
does
is
so
40.
yeah, run
so
more
your best
options
bet
than that.
your best bet in beating Palosan with Cyclozar is knock off first, and then switch out, and then eventually, if it takes enough chip, Draco.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is just
The
U-turn
other
on
option
Palo
is
Sand until you
Boots
get it
Taunt.
into Draco range. That's like how you would get through it if you're a Cyclozarb fighting into a Palo Sand. But
Yeah,
even then, Palo Sand with
Boots
proper
Taunt
play,
is another option.
yeah,
Another mon I wanted to speak on is honestly, I think every single Spiker can be paired with Palisand in that they deserve to rise. All of Chestnut, Klefki, DOD, and especially Gastrodon should all rise. I think B minus for pretty much everything I mentioned is an understatement.
Beraldo's gonna get so mad at this statement.
I'm sorry, Gastrodon is stupid now. I was on the it's bad train before. It's good now. I'm sorry. I
Yeah, it's
hate it,
pretty
but
good.
it's good. It's very good. Another mon I want to mention is Basculegion. This mon
yeah.
is
Where
not
is
B plus.
Basculegion?
B
It is
plus.
B plus. That
Oh,
is an undersell. It
There it
belongs in
is.
A minus or A.
A minus should be fine.
Also, one more mon. I really want to talk about this one. Chinchino. This mon is horrible.
I don't
Where
even
is
see.
it?
I don't
It
know
is
where it
in
is.
B minus.
No.
The fact that it is above anything is a crime. I'd rather use Glastrier. I'd rather use Dragalge. I've used Lucario. This mon isn't even that bad. It's definitely not good, but it's not bad. I'd rather use a lot of Pokemon before I use Chinchino. And more than that, it has nothing that Mousehold doesn't. That actually matters.
Cool.
I
It,
think
it
if
does it
any
does
Pokemon
beat Rocky Helmet Hippowdon, doesn't it?
Mousehold gets Bullet Seed too. That's not a unique trait.
Yeah, but like you're not
It's
running loaded dice on it. You're running wide lens.
I mean, you're also not running Skill and Conchinchino.
Yeah,
You're
you're
running
running loaded
Technician.
dice with Technician. That's a different case. So
yeah.
I mean, you
that
have
bullet seed is a base 100 at minimum.
like Hippowdon dies in like 2 Bullet Seeds. I'm pretty sure with Technician, even with like 2 to 3
That's
hits
no.
twice.
I mean,
That doesn't
yeah,
feel
you'd
right.
have to get like 4 hits twice, and Hippowdon would
Yeah.
die. Mousehold isn't like that strong.
It's not, but
Yeah.
Technician does go the mile.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
let me check.
since
So
Fun
also has
fact:
the
Population Bomb is boosted by Sharpness.
Sure. Okay.
so bullet
Uh,
seed with 3 hits does 47 max.
yeah, that's
Plus
not good.
1 does like 40, so that's a bit
That is
less than I expected.
that's
But
plus one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have like a mon they want to mention? Because I do have like one or two. I feel like we could
No,
just touch
go
upon.
ahead.
Okay.
Let me check.
I'll talk
Oh,
about a little bit about I think a couple. This is going to be a lot of like hyper offense things, but I think Yanmega is something people have forgot a lot about. How popular the psychics are. Yanmega. I mean, the one trick wonder things with like throat spray are a little bit outdated at this point. But I still think it's good mon. You know, speed boosting or just like having a strong bug type, having a strong flying type. I think it's
I'm
fun.
gonna I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a huge fan of Ian Mega.
Okay.
It was like better before, but the fact that you either have to like choose between uh what's throat spray and like uh heavy duty boots and not hitting as hard or like as throat spray. Uh, I think doesn't make it really good right now.
Hmm,
And I think I mentioned it on some discussion before.
okay. I mean, that's cool. I still
yeah.
think it's nice, just because, again, just by nature of having a ton of psychics and stuff. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I think people could like
I,
experiment a little more. I've seen some heavy duty boot
Uh,
sets like do some
but
stuff,
since
so
we
it's
are
interesting.
on the subject of bug types, I do think Slitherwing has probably to be more used more often. I do still think it's quite nice of Mon right now.
yeah.
Yeah,
How the
Yeah,
Titan
I
has
agree. Yeah.
cool.
yeah, Slitherwing is pretty underrated. I like them on, especially with the amount of stupid psychic going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think someone mentioned on the thread about Choice Band Slitherwing hitting really hard.
Yeah,
Actually, I think was Mina who was talking to me last week about Choice Band Slitherwing.
yeah. Trash Band
Yeah.
hits very hard. I think also Protective Pads as a set has seen a little bit of use. Um, and
Yeah,
that's also been like pretty good. You know, not worrying about burn bodies
Yeah.
or Rocky Helmet. You can kind of U-turn close combat with freedom, which not a lot of physical
I,
attackers can really say that.
yeah. Yeah. I agree with
Damn,
Slitherwing.
damn,
I
Ampha, you really
think
gave a shout out to
Slitherwing
Heat
is.
Manager.
I think
huh?
Slitherwing's actually rated correctly right now. It's
Yeah,
weird because like it just doesn't beat a ton. It can beat a ton. That's just off the power of stun spore paralyzing everything. Mainly
Yeah.
the flyers that you usually wouldn't catch with T waves otherwise. Stuff like Moltres, you can wild charge that. Salamence, you're screwed. Noivern, you can stun spore that. Also undersold on the VR. Enam, you can wild charge. Fazandipity, you're screwed. You're not
Well,
running
with what?
Earthquake. You're not
With
running
Wait,
Earthquake.
wait, wait. Hold on. I'm
you are
sorry.
Earthquake's
running
good.
Evie,
you
what
are
were you?
running
What were you in the middle
Earthquake.
of saying? Evie, what were you in
Earthquake
the
is
middle of
good.
saying?
Oh no, it was on another subject. But
Okay,
we can finish with Slitherwing.
sure.
Yeah. Oh, I think the Mon is just fine where it is. I'd rather use a lot of other fighters. I'd rather use Infernape. I think that Mon is
Oh,
very good as a pivot. Hisuian
Mid.
Lilligant is a far better setup sweeper of a fighting type. Conk is a better breaker. Mian Shao is a better pivot that actually lasts.
Mianchao is a fraud.
Manchow is a fraud. That mon is actually just straight up bad.
What?
Yeah.
I no, but the main selling point with Slitherwing is the same selling point that made Golisopod stupid in SM and Sword and Shield. It's just first impression is too good of a move to just ignore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, because like I'm sorry, I don't see it with Infernape. I mean, I don't think Infernape is that bad, but like the main reason you use Slitherwing is just to prevent like the silly offenses from just outright beating you turn one. But yeah,
Yeah.
if
Like
we're done,
Slitherwing,
if we're there, yeah.
in a tier where priority is at a premium, we don't have a lot of great priority. It really does boil down to basically Slitherwing first impression, a Bisharp Sucker Punch, or random Aqua Jets, whether that be from like I don't know, a Barraskewda, Groudon, sometimes Basket Legion, you'll see it even on Scarf, just because it's priority, right? Um, but in
I
a
will say
tier
that
with limited prio, it is a mark in the Slitherwing Pro column to have strong prio. Yeah, go ahead.
ignores stuff like Conkeldurr, Mach Punch, Accelerock from Dusk Rock. People
Yeah,
need to use
sure.
that thing more. Shadow Sneak, Mimikyu.
Yeah.
You could probably do Vacuum Wave on Infernapes with specs. There's a lot of
Nah.
other priority. There's also Entei with E-Speed memes.
Mid.
I
Yeah,
agree, but it's still something. But
um,
what Slithering has is exceptionally strong priority, which that's its draw. The other ones, it's it it's helpful, but I don't think it's enough to justify using on its own. If I want anti-offense stuff, there are other options. And taking up a slot as competitive as the fighting slot is a tall task, and I don't think first impression is enough for that in a lot of the cases.
All right.
Does it fail to make a first impression?
wow.
All right, that's a perfect segue to not have you speak again.
Yeah, we can talk about like one more thing of like kind of
Yeah.
the
Wait,
big
I
pool.
forgot. I didn't say my month for the VR.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead.
Oh my god, guys, come on! I waited so long for it. No, it's So everyone put Cresselia in B, but I put it in A because I'm crazy like that. Sorry,
That's
the
the
A was
vision.
stupid.
I think
No,
Crest is amazing. I
yeah.
think it's better than B. I think A is absolutely insane. I think
Okay.
It should be B
I think
plus.
it's A minus or B plus.
I
Yeah.
I
think
think
I
Scarf Crest is a nice HO anchor.
No, but I also CM randomly is well. If with Terra Poison, it's one of the best Okidogi checks we have, but it's also, and this is stupid, but it's also the best Enamerous check we have.
It's also the
Like
best Weather Broom.
You know what? You're
it
not
is.
wrong. You're really not. Terra
I mean,
Poison Crest probably is our best Enamorous check, and that's really depressing.
yeah. But it was hurt a lot by Jirachi coming to the tier, obviously. But besides that, like, there's a very easy way for it to win most games, like outright, and it's just pretty stupid in the right circumstances. But I do agree that A was probably me being crazy a bit because there's way too many psychics that can do similar things. But yeah, just wanted to say that Grass is really underrated right now.
Okay, cool. With that, let's kind of just hop into the VR changes then. And we can kind of talk about that. A lot of this is kind of stuff we've already looked at in some regard. Uh, but yeah, just new additions, Jirachi, Barraskewda to A plus and A minus respectively. I think that's perfectly warranted. Jirachi, one of the best mons in the tier. Barraskewda, Rain Anchor, also as a standalone mon, I think kind of underrated. Um, just clicking flip turn in close combat and being faster than like a lot of Cyclizar actually tend to underspeed Barraskewda, which I think is wrong, but I mean, you would need to run max speed Cyclizar to keep up, basically. So it's, whatever. But Great Breaker, I think they're both properly rated. Y'all, what are the thoughts?
Yeah.
I don't really have anything. There, it's 12:20 a.m. I'm losing steam.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
Yeah, all I have to say is
We could probably rapid fire through the changes since most of the mons that changed we've touched on as is.
Yeah, I mean, Cyclizar, we've kind of already talked about. Enamorous, we've talked about.
We
The two
talked
psychics also
about
talked about. Yeah, Ampha?
We talked about all the rises except for
uh,
Talonflame, Wo-Chien, and Torterra.
I also want to mention Feen. I'm still a Bramble Gas warrior here because
Oh my god.
I
Oh
think
no.
I
There
think
we go.
I
Alright, alright,
I
alright.
think
Bro,
me
come on.
I think me, Feli, and Beraldo had Cyclozar still ranked on these VR changes because I do still think Spice, Strange Sap, and Rapid Spin is like really good utility on Bramble Gas, and it definitely deserves at least a C rank. It's in my honest opinion, it's probably better than like Serena, uh, and a couple of other mons which are in C right now.
Sure.
No, no. That's
Yes.
all I have
Okay.
to say. I'm
But yeah,
tired.
I'm
I
just
just
gonna
no.
hold on. Before we talk about that, I'm just gonna finish the rises. So Volcanion A
Yeah.
minus to A, properly rated. I think we talked about this already. Rhyperior, Greatmon, Rose, deserved. Actually a little surprised to see Hisuian Lilligant among Crocodile and Armarouge to rise. I didn't really think anyone was on the Hisuian Lilligant train, but hey man, I love that mon. It's a great mon. Love to see it rise. Armarouge too.
As
A
long as
lot
it
of
hits.
steam behind Armarouge.
Armor
Uh,
is broken.
Amaranth
That's
yeah,
all
is
I have to
really
say.
good.
Armarouge has seen a ton of play, ton of success. Really, just because it's funny too. A few months ago, we were talking about Armarouge as if it was like a non-factor in the tier. A couple things happened. Hoopa left, Zarude left, and suddenly he's running the show again.
Oh,
Like,
what a shocker. The psychic type is getting steam because dark types are banned.
yeah, this is one of the good psychics. I like that this guy has been getting more popular. It's very nice.
I don't. I hate it.
It's almost stupid, honestly. But anyways,
Everyone
that's a
prepping,
conversation
everyone
for another
prepping for
day.
Evie. You heard it here first. Bring to Armarouge.
Or just
But yeah,
put me in SS.
besides that, Mega Torterra is another rise. A little surprised about. Didn't really think a lot of people were on the Torterra wave, but cool. Um, Honestly surprised Wo-Chen didn't go up higher. A lot of people have been supporting Wo-Chen.
I think
Yeah.
if it went up higher, I was gonna actually start just laughing. I think Wo-Chien is good. It is not anything close to better than B+. I'll be honest.
I
Yeah, I
agree.
don't know. Every time I've seen Wo-Chen, it's put on work. Even when it loses, it is like not because of the Wo-Chen. It's because the Wo-Chen has backpacked anything there was a chance at,
I,
of, it do the team
I,
winning. Like,
I have the list of people who are on the Wotian train, and I can name them right now. So there's Feliburn, there's Feliburn Hoenn, there's Feliburn Galar, there's Feliburn Alola.
We get it.
Oh God.
yeah, listen, he might be on to something. Wo-Chen is like, it does its job pretty well. But B plus is, I'll respect that too. Two whole jumps. Palisade to B minus, warranted, probably warranted higher. Again, it single handedly enables an entire archetype to be played. This mon by itself, like that's worth so much, I think.
I
But
would
yeah,
like to say that Palisand has more usage in RUPL than Gengar, and that mon is A-.
yeah, I'm about that.
Thank you.
Should be higher. Talonflame, unranked to C, cool. You see it on stall sometimes. You see it on Fat Balance. It's Talonflame, I guess. Yeah. Gonna move on to the drops real quick too. Hippo S to A plus. Not gonna lie,
Should be
I feel
A.
like I feel like it could have dropped a little lower. I'm not gonna. I feel like people have kind of just learned how to play around Hippo. It's like kind of exploitable. Meh. Gengar A to A minus. Also, yeah, it's like flavor of the month. It has kind of passed. Probably deserves A minus. I can be about that. Uh, whole bunch of interesting stuff from A minus to B plus. Seeing three psychics in Mew, Gardevoir, Azelf, they don't see a lot of play, but a little surprised they dropped.
I
Cleavor,
think
Mousehold. Yeah.
I think Gardevoir shouldn't have dropped. I think Cleavor shouldn't have dropped, and I think Mienshao shouldn't have dropped. The other ones, they should have dropped. I think it was a fine change. I can understand why Cleavor dropped, even though
Yeah, I mean, Cleavor,
Powder is on a
Mousehold, Mimikyu,
downswing.
these three are like big HO staples, and that's kind of fallen out of favor. So I see
I
it. I
mean,
understand.
the VR is mainly because like you can't really fit them on non-HO teams. Well, I'm talking about Mimikyu and Cleaver. I mean,
True.
okay, Cleaver could be, but it's all usually the Scar variant.
It's not
Gardevoir is
used enough.
really good right now, and I feel like it's gonna be like as the metagame evolves, it's gonna be better. I have good hopes for Gardevoir.
It's kind
Cool.
of
Same with
funny
Mew as well.
whole
But yeah,
Gardevoir.
Mienshao is a fraudulent Pokemon. I will never
No,
stop saying that.
no.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I have seen Mienshao do a lot of stuff, and generally it is underwhelming me. Like I don't know.
Brother, just say it's fraudulent.
It's okay. It does
Nah,
stuff.
nah,
It's not a
nah.
zero, but it's not
It's fraud. It's a
what
fraud.
everyone thinks it
The
is.
only time Mienshao does stuff is when you're running the better set, aka the Life Orb.
Yeah.
It's
Um.
almost like the better set is good.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to B plus to B for Alligator and Fernape, Gyarados, Slitherwing. Really, I think all kind of deserved. I mean, I when was the last time you saw for Alligator or like a Gyarados? Really, Slitherwing. It does hurt
In
my
my
heart, but
suspect run.
okay. Sure.
I think Infernape was absolutely fine in B plus.
Nope.
The other ones, they absolutely deserve to drop. All three of them. I think if anyone else didn't, it was Gyarados. But
Yeah.
Slowbro kind of makes it hard. Infernape, Specs is excellent. Choice Band is still amazing. Witcheroo is very underrated at ignoring every defensive check you have with Infernape. You could just cripple whatever you choose. And
Sure.
Nasty Plot sets can just delete Slowbro with a Grass Knot. I think it should have stayed B plus.
All right. And then we have the B to B minus. Bellybolt, Breloom, Cinccino, Raikou, Galarbro, Suicune, Vileplume. Galarbro, we're going to see a lot of more people exploring Galarbro. Um,
No,
this
we're
is a
not.
mon that
We
I've,
No, we're
yeah,
not. That one sucks. I've tried it. It sucks really badly.
yeah,
you should look at my recent replay versus Felibird
yeah.
in
I would
BLT.
actually highly disagree. Galarbro just being a toxic mon, something who kind of like can pivot in on toxic, spread thunder waves. It's there's stuff here. Like I feel like people will get around to it. I think it's interesting. It might not be like A good, but B at the very least, I think it probably could sit there.
Yeah.
I don't know,
I think
personal
a
opinion,
lot of
but
the drops from B were interesting. I think Chinchino should have dropped all the way down to D rank. I think that mon is irredeemably garbage.
okay.
I think Raikou should have stayed where it was. I think CMOR Sphere and being a Thunderous check is nice.
Yeah,
I
I
thought
think
Sweet
kind of just
I
the
thought Sweet
general trend with most of these B mons is you just haven't seen a lot of usage. Like not even necessarily that they're bad anymore, just the way things have panned out, you just don't see them as much, which is a shame,
yeah.
but it
Vileplume
happens.
probably deserved to drop, which is a shame because I was defending this mon a lot. Bellybolt, for everything I said about paralysis, I really never thought this mon would drop from B. Static is pretty much a premium. Punishing Cyclizar U-turn with a glorified Oko on a Cyclizar is huge. And it checks Thundurus a lot of the time, probably better than most. It's a toxic spreader. It's very, very fat. And more than that, I thought Suicune was on an upswing. I surprised that thing dropped. I get it
Yeah,
though,
I don't
but
think
I thought it
Suicune
was
should
on
have
an
dropped.
upswing.
Yeah. So okay, beyond that, B to C plus, Arachnid, Cloyster, DoD, Kilowatt, Registeel, Salazzle, Umbreon, Vaporeon, Venusaur. a lot of kind of the same thing for the ones above. You just kind of don't see them anymore. Like a
I'm
lot of
gonna
what,
be I'm gonna be fair about Salazzo. I think Salazzo probably is one of the ones who could likely be unranked right now because Psych Noise just killed most of Salazzo's niches, which
yeah,
were like the the set Beraldo used on SCL last time with subtoxic and everything. It's just not as good as it used to be, and
Yeah,
like offensive sets are just like an old thing.
subtoxic just gets gooped by psychic noise. So yeah,
the psychic noise thing has really been bad for Salazzle. I mean, you can say that for a lot of
yeah,
sub mons. Just getting hit through the sub by psychic noise sucks. Like sub is not as good as basically it's as
Yeah.
bad as it's ever been. I'll say that. Like psychic noise
Yeah,
is
you
that good right now.
probably have to rely on Terra Dark or not to Sabera at all.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Ditto Floatzel or Choreo. I didn't even know Oricorio was on here. Toxicroak, uh, and Toxicity. Again, just not stuff you see very often. C plus
ignore,
is
ignore,
okay.
ignore. I think we're done.
Pretty
Like
much,
Yeah.
yeah.
completely
Yeah.
done.
No one cares about Oricorio. The only thing that we can mention at this point is Umbreon did not deserve to drop. All right, the end.
Okay, and
Yeah,
then
I
finally
think
Titan,
Umbreon
Gligar,
is
Tentacruel, Thwackey. All of these are kind of just like meme options. You know, Titan, meme Hail, Thwackey, meme Grassy Terrain. Uh,
leftovers Gligar.
Gligar is just
Thwacky dropping, Thwacky
Gligar.
dropping and not Grafai, who is completely tied to Thwacky, is very funny, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just meme stuff. So, kind of understandable that it's kind of like fallen out of favor. But yeah, I mean that kind of covers everything for the changes. I think we've kind of done everything. We said everything we want to about VRs. So, if anyone has any closing comments, you can say them now. But otherwise, I'm you know kind of done with everything. I think everything's been said.
I just
Yeah.
wanna mention that I love the fact that people realize about the Among Us Easter egg I left
oh
on
my
the
god, that
VL.
Oh,
was
of
so
course I
bad,
noticed that.
man.
I noticed that day one,
Nice
and
game.
Oh,
Nice
I
game.
had a solemn frown on my face
Okay.
because it
thank
is unfortunately May 2024, and we're still making Among Us jokes.
And with that, have a great night,
Good
everybody.
night.
Thank you to our all these beautiful people for joining us for an hour and 42 minutes. And yeah, catch
Jesus
you next time
Christ.
with like RUPL content or whatever. Peace.